Farming communities are very special indeed, and Waverly is no exception. From daily chores of feeding the chickens to mucking stalls, to taking care of the pigs or just taking out the trash. Farming teaches great responsibilities and lessons about life in general. Today, sophomore Jess Pope brings you a very special edition of Farm Talk with Jess as he visits with the future farmers in our very own backyards. Here's Jess at Waverly Grade School.
What's your favorite chore that you have to do?
Feeding the cattle.
Feeding the cattle?
Yeah.
What other kind of chores do you have to do?
That's all.
That's all you have to do? Well, who does all your other chores for you then?
My dad.
Your dad does them?
Yeah.
Poor dad. You want to be a farmer when you grow up?
Yeah.
Alright. What kind of chores do you have to do at your house?
I have to feed the pigs, feed the calves, feed them hay, and feed the chickens.
What do you have to do?
Chickens, horses, pigs.
What's your favorite kind of chore that you have to do at the house?
Feeding my calves
You like to feed calves?
and my dogs.
What's the worst chore you gotta do? What's the one that you don't like the most?
Doing the dishes.
Doing the dishes. Me and Judd here. Alright, what's your favorite chore to do on the farm, Judd?
I don't do chores, Jess does.
Really? What chore do you like the most?
Pigs.
You like doing the pigs most? What do you like doing the most?
Calves.
What's the chore that you hate doing? You just absolutely can't stand doing it.
Chickens.
The chickens? Why don't you like the chickens?
I just don't like chickens.
You just don't like chickens?
Chickens.
You don't like chickens either? My land. What's your favorite chore?
Well, I really like to feed cattle and things like that, so things to do with cattle.
Oh, that's good.
And, Brady. And then my least favorite thing is taking out the trash.
Yeah. Do you two want to be farmers when you grow up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to be farmers when you grow up?
Yes.
You do? You want to be farmers when you grow up?
Yes.
Alright, that's good. We need more farmers in America. Thanks, fellas. Do you want to be a farmer when you grow up?
Yes.
You do? Why is that?
Because I'm a farm boy.
Alright, thank you, Jed.
According to the Washington Post, Puxatawny Phil, the world's most beloved and furry seasonal prognosticator, saw his shadow on Monday morning, forecasting 6 more weeks of winter. The Groundhog's prediction came around 7:25 a.m. in Puxatawny, Pennsylvania. Groundhog Day, February 2nd, is a popular tradition in the United States. It's also a legend that traverses centuries, its origins clouded in the midst of time with ethnic cultures and animals awakening on specific dates. Sophomore Galen Fleming took to the halls to ask some questions about this holiday phenomenon.
I'm Galen Fleming here with Bulldog Buzz, and this is Mrs. Rapp, our substitute art teacher for the day. I've got a couple questions for you, Mrs.
Sure.
Rapp. What happens when the groundhog sees his shadow?
Have only 6 more weeks of bad weather.
All right. Thank you very much, Mrs.
Thank
Rapp.
you.
Number 1, what happens if the groundhog sees his shadow?
2 more weeks of winter. 6.
Actually, it's
6 more weeks of winter.
And then question number 1, what happens when the groundhog sees his shadow?
6 more months of winter.
6 more months?
Weeks.
There we go.
Whatever it is.
What happens when the groundhog sees its shadow?
And it runs back inside and there's 6 more weeks of winter.
I'm pretty sure that's correct. What happens when the groundhog sees its shadow?
6 more weeks of winter.
Okay. What happens if the groundhog sees its shadow?
6 more weeks of winter.
Okay. What is the groundhog's name?
Puxatawny Phil.
And then what is the groundhog's name?
Puxatawny Phil.
Alright, you're right. What is the groundhog's name?
Something Phil. Pontonaway Phil.
You're close. Puxatawny Phil.
Puxatawny Phil.
What is the groundhog's name?
I have no clue.
Do you know the groundhog's name?
Puxatawny Phil.
And what is the groundhog's name?
Punxsutawney Phil.
Alright, thank you.
Love Bill Murray.
On Friday night's Lyon County League tournament action, both Waverly girls and boys were vying for a spot in both championship games. The girls were up first in the night, squaring off against their district rivals, the Lebo Wolves. It was a slow first quarter, of which the end saw the WHS Dogs trailing by 2 points, 4-6. As the second quarter action started, the Dogs slowly started to pull away, but at halftime they led by only 3 points in a low-scoring 14-11 lead. As the Lady Dogs regrouped and found their rhythm, they took to the hoop and found a solid lead by the end of the third quarter and were up by a landslide of 31-13. The Lady Dogs were relentless in the last half, and by the end of the game buzzer, they were staring down the barrel of a championship berth with a win over Lebo, 40-17. In the boys' game, WHS was matched up against the Trojans of Meridazine Valley. It wasn't long before Waverly found themselves down 0-9, but by the end of the first quarter they had sealed that gap up and were trailing only 14-20. The second quarter found the Dogs biting back, and by the first half-ending buzzer, the Dogs were up 34-33. But it wouldn't be long into the second half, and your Dogs would be down again 49-52. And by the game-ending buzzer, the Dogs would find themselves playing for third place as they trailed the Trojans for an ending score of 64-71. The halftime entertainment for Friday night sure didn't disappoint, as we were entertained by our very own Waverly High School cheerleading squad. They danced to a medley of songs and did some great stunts and were greeted with applause and shouts of approval from the crowd. In addition, Mr. Ted Vanacker, Superintendent of USD 243 Lebo Waverly, presented brand new LCL basketball trophies made possible with donations from around the Lyon County League. Peggy Meter of Waverly presented one of the trophies, which was donated by the First National Bank of Waverly. Thank you to the Meters and Mr. Vanacker. Saturday action saw the gentlemen of Waverly High School playing the Hartford Jaguars for a third-place finish. It was neck and neck during the first quarter of action as Hartford closed in tightly to WHS by only 3 points. By the end of the first 8 minutes, WHS led 19-16. The intensity didn't let up, and by halftime, the score separated both teams by only 2 points, Waverly 28, Hartford 26. Waverly led as well at the end of the third, but with only 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, it was all tied up at 46. It was intense and on the edge of your seat action as Hartford and Waverly went back and forth with baskets. But by the end of the game, WHS scored the third place finish, winning with a score of 55-48. In the girls' championship game, the Lady Dogs faced off against the Olpe Eagles. It would be the second time Waverly saw Olpe this season after beating them on Olpe's home court earlier in the season. By the end of the first hard-fought quarter, the Bulldogs trailed the Eagles by only 1 point, with a score of 12-13. It was hard to stop the Eagle offense, and when the Lady Dogs went to the locker room at halftime, they were trailing by 6 points with a score of 19-25. It was difficult for Waverly to regroup after halftime, and by the end of the third quarter, the Eagles' lead had extended to 14 points as the Bulldogs were behind Olpe 23-37. As the fourth quarter ticked on, the Lady Dogs started to close the gap in score, but by the time that the buzzer sounded, the Bulldogs couldn't close it up, and they walked away in second place with a close score of 44-49. The Lady Bulldogs cinched up a first-place, undefeated first-place finish in regular season play. This was the first loss on the Lady Bulldog basketball season.